Okay, so so this is the kind of landing page for the course. In a remote course, we're not really touching base physically as often, but the landing page for the course is our Blackboard site. The easiest way to get there is go to courses.ccac.edu, and then you can log in with your same username and password for email or for the portal or any of that. You can also go through the portal my.ccac.edu, but I find that that's sometimes just a little bit more annoying to navigate. I'm going to bring up the chat. If anybody has any questions as we're going along, feel free to pop your question in the chat. So personally, I like to use the deprecated Blackboard site. This site here is the Ultra site, but if we go to this, it's a little bit glitchy. Like it comes up with current courses, but you can see that it's like never actually has all my current courses. And you can, go in here, you can navigate down to our course and it'll bring it up, and it does work fine. But personally, I like this deprecated site. So if you want to use it, here's the direct link to it. You have to kind of like sign into courses.ccac.edu and then like open a new tab and enter this. If you just enter this URL directly, it really tries to push you to the Ultra site. But I like this one. Particularly, I like it because I can just control click all my courses and open them all up in new tabs and then just, cycle through them and check and see what's new or post my announcement or whatever and close the tab. So things like that just work a little nicer in this site. But the Ultra, there's nothing really wrong with it. And whichever one you go to, you should end up at a page that looks something like this. So you'll see there's an announcements tab, the announcement from yesterday. There's a Zoom tab with the different links for the class meeting as well as for office hours. Note that my office hours, it's a little bit annoying that I have to have two different Zoom meeting links, one for the Monday, Wednesday hours, one for the Tuesday, Thursday hours. Zoom just doesn't like to allow you to use the same link for kind of different types of meeting patterns. But my office hours, Monday, Wednesday, 9:30 to 10:15, Tuesday, Thursday, 10:15 to 12. And these are the links for those office hours. One note on office hours, for whatever reason, Zoom can be a little picky whenever I have a meeting open and there's no one else in attendance. So we'll occasionally force close my meeting and it doesn't really tell me. So if I have like the little icon up in the top right of my screen or something, sometimes it'll close the meeting and I won't even realize it. If that happens, then whenever you try to log in, it might say something like the host hasn't started the meeting yet, but I'm always on my email or have my email up and it'll notify me. So if something like that happens, just hang on for a couple minutes and then, I'll restart the meeting if needed. So we'll come back to the syllabus, but just a quick rundown of the rest of the Blackboard site. In course documents here, we have information on the WebAssign access instructions. So WebAssign is the online ancillary for the course. Being a remote course, we're going to use this for homework as well as for exams. So the exams will be they'll be posted and taken on WebAssign as well as the homeworks. There's standard WebAssign registration instructions. These work for pretty much everybody. You see on the top right here is the class key, this ccac.cc.pa 7630-7667. And you can go through here and you can log into WebAssign, create an account, get into our course. There's a 2-week free trial, so you can do all of that. You don't need an access code if you don't have your book now. If you're still working things out, you can do all of that, today if you want to. Get in and kind of get squared away with WebAssign. You can view the book in there. You can start on the homework sets. You can do all of that with that 2-week free trial. Every once in a while, somebody will have kind of a tech issue with this registration instructions. So I've also posted some alternate registration instructions. They're pretty similar, but but some folks find the alternate a little bit better. Note that the bookstore, if you buy a code from the bookstore, an access code from the bookstore, they typically won't give you the access code to WebAssign. They'll give you a code, and it's a code that you would enter in the bookstore's website, this brightwave.redshelf.com website. You'd go to that Red Shelf website, you'd create an account, you'd enter the bookstore's code, and then that would generate a Cengage WebAssign code for you that you would then go to WebAssign and register and so on, and enter that code for your access. It's a little bit annoying, but basically this solves annoying logistical problems, is the long story short version. We used to have problems with when we had physical pieces of cardboard that had, rip strips on them. It was really hard to keep straight, which pieces of cardboard went to which course, or which got you access to which textbooks or which sites and all of that. And then if they, would run out of them for a certain course, you'd have to wait for a couple of days while another batch was shipped. This just kind of avoids all of that. So this gets rid of those logistical problems. It adds another kind of annoying step, but it's probably better than the problems that we used to have with the old physical cardboard access codes. So again, in course documents, that's where you'll find these. I recommend just going on and logging on right away, today or tomorrow or something, just to make sure that you're in there. There will be a couple of homework sets that are due this coming week, this coming Sunday, that are on review topics from Calc 1. So that'll get you kind of acclimated to the site. That'll get you, make sure everybody's able to log on and all of that. There are some useful websites, some CCAC sites, as well as some third-party math sites. Some information about the textbooks, or the textbook. We're using Stewart Calculus Early Transcendentals 8th edition. Note that if you're getting a textbook like used from a third-party site, it probably does not come with WebAssign access. So what most students would do is they would buy the WebAssign access individually, either directly from Cengage, directly from the WebAssign folks, or they buy it through the bookstore and get just the online access. And then if you want a physical copy of the text, a lot of times it's a lot cheaper to find, especially if you go an edition or two or older, like the 7th or 6th edition, and you can find a used copy super cheap, either at somewhere like Half Price Books or maybe on Amazon or something, finding an older edition. Typically they're, $5 to $10 or something. And something that I tend to recommend to students is, especially in more technical fields, is accumulating a library of books. So having a few books that you might find helpful. So things like Sham's outlines in the Humongous book series they're super nice books for drilling problems. Basically what they do is they do a super short introduction of a topic, and then they have maybe 10 problems or so where they just do problem statement, fully work out the problem, get to the answer, and then maybe another 10 or so problems where they give you a problem statement and answer, and then you work out the information in between. And here's a couple of other calculus books that are fairly well regarded, that again you can pick up an edition or two old for pretty cheap. And sometimes it can be nice just to have a different point of view, right? There's a certain way that that Stewart presents things. There's a certain way that I'll present things. And once in a while, maybe on a certain topic that doesn't click with you, so you can look up a different reference. You can, maybe the way that Larson, Hostetler, and Edwards present it just, clicks a little better for you. Whatever the examples they use, the wording they use, maybe makes a little more sense for you. So I think this is generally a good idea, whether it's in a math course or a physics course or a bio course, just to have a couple of different references like that. And like I said, I mean, an edition or two old, especially in something like math or basic physics or something, is the material is going to certainly be relevant and still the same, but it's going to be a lot cheaper. And then just some instructor information here. This is a rehashing of stuff that's at other places in the Blackboard site. Okay, So we're making pretty good progress. Any questions on anything besides the syllabus and WebAssign, which we'll be getting to in the next couple minutes? Okay, so in the syllabus tab, there's the syllabus proper and this kind of addendum on workflow pointers. I do recommend everybody read through this document. It is a few pages. Maybe it's a little bit dry, but it really lays out kind of what a typical week in the course might look like, how the kind of hybrid component works, and gives an idea of the weekly time expectations to spend on the course. So I strongly recommend looking through this, reading through it. Again, I'm moving a little more quickly than usual because of the shortened class time, but we'll jump over to the syllabus. And I do want to spend a few minutes on the syllabus and a few minutes talking about WebAssign. So these are kind of the two places that we're going to spend a little more time. So in the syllabus, the first page is for the most part boilerplate. We have our meeting times Monday, Wednesday, 12:15 to 1:15. The final exam we'll see will be available for a full week. So a little more information on that in a couple minutes here. As a side note, the college is piloting something called Simple Syllabus. So in the syllabus tab here, you just have the PDF version of the syllabus. Just because I had to triage some things with the crazy heat situation today, I didn't get a chance to make the Simple Syllabus live, but that'll be at a link down here. The Simple Syllabus will have the same information as this kind of official PDF syllabus, but it'll be presented in a way, number one, that's a little more formulaic, so it's a little more consistent from class to class, and number two, it might display on your phone or tablet a little bit better than, say, a PDF where you might have to like zoom way in and scroll back and forth and all that. So that should be that option should be up in the next day or so, that Simple Syllabus option. But for right now, we're kind of using the PDF. I, had the triage, had to push that back a little bit with all the craziness today. One other general note about the syllabus, and this goes really for this course, but really for any course you take, is that the syllabus really is a contract. It's something that all of the parties are agreeing to by kind of continuing on in the course. It's a contract between me and each one of you, but also between each one of you and everybody else in the course, and really also between each one of you and kind of the greater college community. This syllabus is a permanent record of essentially what is going to happen or what will have happened in the course. And that means that, I have expectations of you as laid out in the syllabus, but you also have expectations of me and of your fellow students that I'm going to follow the policies in the syllabus and that those policies will be enforced uniformly across all students. So this really is an important document for the course. It'll be available on Blackboard at this link throughout the whole course. And then, of course, even later on, if you are looking to transfer credits somewhere and they want to see a syllabus, a lot of times they will. This will be part of the record. It'll be on, stored on one of CCAC servers, and you'll be able to get it. And somebody can look at it and say, okay, this is what happened in this course. So the required text is Stewart Calculus. Let me actually grab that here. So Stewart's Calculus should look like this. So interestingly, a violin on the front of it for sorry, I forgot whose name it was that was learning the violin, but yeah, so Stewart's Calculus is the official textbook. And as I kind of mentioned, there's a couple different access options, but most students will use the ebook that comes with WebAssign Access. A little more discussion on WebAssign in a few minutes. And then if you want a physical copy, a lot of times it's cheaper to buy one on the second-hand market, especially if you go an edition or two older. It'll essentially have the same information, but maybe the order changes a little bit, the page numbers change a little bit, but we won't be assigning homework out of the book, this page, this problem number. So if you have a slightly different edition, it's no big deal. Some other materials, I just noticed this dash is red for some reason. Not sure why that is, but some other materials, the graphing calculator, highly recommended. Access to WebAssign, which again, we'll talk a little more about in a minute here. Regularly check CCAC academic email address. I know, some of you said that you were kind of, returning students, or maybe you're attending a different school. You can forward your CCAC email to another email address if there's one that you use more often. If you do that, make sure you clean it out every once in a while, just to make sure your inbox doesn't get full. But make sure that you're keeping an eye on that CCAC academic email. If I need to post an announcement or something, the announcements on Blackboard go to your email, your CCAC email, and also anything that the college needs to send to you, an invoice, or, checking in with, transcripts or grades or any of those kind of things will come to that CCAC email. And then, of course, the ability to connect to participate in Zoom meetings. So that would mean things like camera, microphone, computer, something like that, stable internet connection, those kinds of things. There are lots of resources available. First and foremost is me. If you have a question, if you're having trouble with something, if you, whether it's an academic thing or, whether it's like, I don't understand this material, can you clarify this topic? Or whether it's like having trouble logging into WebAssign or something like that, or, anything like that. It's best to either pop in office hours or email me sooner rather than later. The earlier that you kind of bring something to my attention, the more options we have to work through it. You can also set up a work group with other students in either in this class, or maybe you see a couple of students that are in a couple of your classes, or folks that are in the similar major as you, and you want to network with them. Admittedly, can be a little bit harder in a Zoom section, but you definitely can make it work. And then we have tutoring options available too. Calc 2 can be a little bit difficult to find somebody to be able to tutor. But both the LAC and the Math Cafe, there's one of each of them at each campus, and I think at West Hill Center also, and some other options at the other centers. Both of those are available to you. The LAC offers scheduled one-on-one tutoring for 50 minutes or so, or an hour or so at a time. So if you miss a class, or if you're looking to study for an exam and want dedicated time with the tutor, that's a good option. And then walk-in group tutoring is available at the Math Cafe if you just want a place to kind of work on your homework, and then if you run into a problem, you can call somebody over. The Math Cafe might be good for that. Again, Calc 2 can be a little bit difficult to find somebody who's comfortable tutoring it, but you can ask the folks at the LAC for their schedule, and when the folks who are comfortable with Calc 2 are on the schedule, and you can you can schedule your time that way. And then again, third-party resources are available too. The grading scale or the grading plan is homework counts for 40% of the grade. We'll have 3 unit exams counting for 40% of the grade, and a final exam counting for 20% of the grade. So exams worth a total of 60%, homework 40%. I do round grades up. So for instance, an 89.1 rounds up to a 90 or an A. Mainly because I don't want to quibble with somebody about 0.1 or 0.2 or something percentage points. Email expectations. And again, I am going through this quickly. I know that if you have questions, stop me. But since we only have till 1:15, I'm trying to make it through everything. Email expectations. Please allow me 1 business day to get back to emails. But if you send me an email and it's been 1 business day, I haven't gotten back to you, please do send me a reminder. I'd much rather you send me a reminder, pop it to the top of my inbox, and I get back to you. Sometimes I get, a bunch of emails at once from administrative things or CCAC emails or whatever. And sometimes I miss a student email. I do prioritize student emails, but sometimes they do slip past me. Pop it to the top of my inbox. I'm much more happy going that route than, realizing, say, a week later when I'm looking back through my inbox for something that I missed in an email from a student. Some general boilerplate here. Don't cheat, don't get caught cheating. It's not worth it. It creates a hassle for everybody. Read through the syllabus carefully. But the other thing that I wanted to talk about here is the exams. There will be 3 unit exams and a final exam. These will be proctored through Examity, through a third-party automated proctoring service. And note that I'm using Examity's automated proctoring system. You might have heard, from other students or from your experiences, you might have heard of problems with Examity, students having tech issues. They almost always, well, if there's a tech issue with Examity, it's almost always in the live proctoring side of things, where you're trying to connect with an actual person on the other side of a teleconference meeting. A lot of times those folks aren't in the US. They can sometimes have unstable internet connections. There can sometimes be language barriers. But with the automated service, where it's basically just logging onto their server, starting up a webcam and a screen share, and it just records it, I haven't had any technical problems. I haven't had students have technical problems with that at all. So the live service is where we tend to see a little more, basically there just tends to be more things that need to go right in order for it to work. But with the automated service, it should be much more streamlined, much less hassle. And of course, I'll send out more information about this as we get closer to the exams. There will be an Examity practice exam where the sole purpose of it is just for you to be able to walk through that whole process, start to finish, and kind of know what it's going to look like before you take an exam that counts. So there will definitely be more information on this later in the course. Do not wait until the last minute to take the exams. Give yourself a buffer so that if something happens, if there's a power outage, a technical issue, we have time to fix it. Again, read through this carefully, but the other thing I want to point out is with exams, each of the exams, the unit exams and the final exam, will be open for roughly a 1-week period. And you can take the exam anytime in that window. That's one of the nice things with Examity, is it gives that flexibility. So you can schedule it, you can take it whenever you want within that window, but don't wait until the last minute. Because there's a week-long window, there are no extensions for due dates on the exams. If you wait until the last minute and something like a power outage happens, I'm not going to grant a due date extension for something like that. So give yourself a couple days buffer. If something crazy were to happen where it's like, you were going to take a Thursday or Friday and it's due Sunday, and for some reason you can't take it for 3 or 4 days, that's a pretty extenuating circumstance, and then we would work around that. Your phone or your calculator has to only be a calculator, so no using things like phones or laptops or whatever as calculators. Strongly recommend the TI-8384, but anything qualitatively similar, whether it's TI-89 or Inspire or a Casio or HP, those are all fine, as long as your calculator is only a calculator. But particularly no using like phone or laptop emulators or websites or whatever as the calculator on an exam. And then in the course schedule, this is a rough outline of what we'll be doing each day. The unit exams, their content, chapter 6 and 7, as well as the week that they'll be available, are all outlined here. So the week of 2/19, February 19th, just about a month from today, we'll have unit 1 exam, chapter 6 and 7, and it'll be available from that Monday through that Sunday. So Monday the 19th at 9 a.m. typically is when I'll make them available. And then through Sunday, I guess it would be the 25th at 11:59 p.m. So you'd have that whole week to take that unit 1 exam. Similarly with unit 2 exam, Monday through Sunday. Unit 3 exam, Monday through Sunday. And then the final exam, we won't have final exam on the final exam day. It'll be like the others. It'll be available for roughly a week. It'll be available because the course essentially kind of ends that Friday or Saturday of final exam week. The final exam will be available from 9 a.m. on the Friday the 3rd through 11:59 p.m. on Friday the 10th. Any quick questions on this before we jump over to WebAssign for our last few minutes?
Just a quick one. Is
Mhm.
there multiple attempts on test or no?
No, just one attempt on tests, but I will post a practice exam for each of the
Okay.
exams so that way you have um, kind of an idea of the length of the exam, the types of problems, the difficulty of the problems that'll be on it. So you can go through and kind of take it as if you were taking the actual test and see how it goes and see if, if there's a time issue or if there's, maybe a certain topic that maybe you want to review first.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep, sure. And the sample exams are pretty similar to the actual exams. So, okay, so let's jump over to WebAssign. This is the online ancillary for the course. I typically go to webassign.net to log in. You can also log in through Cengage. Cengage is the publisher who owns WebAssign. So WebAssign is kind of their like online ancillary arm. And then Cengage is the publisher. Like if you look at the Stewart book on the side, it says Cengage on it. They're the ones that publish the books. But they bought WebAssign maybe 5 or so years ago. So if you go to webassign.net, I like going that route. I just like the display a little better, but you can also log in through Cengage's website, and the display looks a tiny bit different. I think for the most part, it looks the same, but there are some pieces of it that look a little bit different. You can get access to the textbook here just by clicking on the textbook. A lot of students really like this personal study plan. So I've made this available. And it's just an extra help that you can look at. You can either drill down into a certain chapter and section and do, say, a quiz or a tutorial, or you can quiz yourself on the whole chapter. So particularly for, say, something like chapter 7, if you know that this is a trig substitution problem, that gives you a heck of a leg up on that problem. Maybe you're practicing for the exam where you won't be told use a trig substitution here. So maybe you do a chapter quiz instead, and that kind of mixes and matches the problem. So you have to look at the problem and realize that it's a trig substitution problem, which can be half the battle. So a lot of students like this. Note that this note that this app, or whatever you want to call it, does basically just pull problems randomly from the chapter or section. So it might pull a super hard problem or an easier problem. It might pull a problem related to something that maybe we didn't cover in one of the application sections. So you do have to, use it with a little bit of, or take it with a little bit of a grain of salt. Just if you see something and you're like, I don't remember seeing that at all in class, maybe it just pulled a funky question from the question bank, and you can always feel free to, screenshot and email me and be like, hey, did I miss this class, or what's up here? But for the most part, what you'll be using WebAssign for is to log in, and you see my assignments here. And you see there are 2 assignments currently available. These are review from Calc 1. These are due this weekend, this Sunday. So again, even if you don't have your textbook yet, if you don't have an access code, that's fine. There's a 2-week free trial. Create an account, get logged in, and then work through these review sections here. This gets you onto the site. This gets you kind of working with the technology. If you haven't used WebAssign before, it gets you acclimated to the system before we really move into the Calc 2 material and onto the material that's newer, that's more challenging, and where you'll have fewer attempts. For these, you have unlimited attempts. For the review, which you can see in the sorry, not unlimited attempts. It only lets me give you 100, but if you don't get it right in 100 attempts, well, sorry, I guess. I don't know. But you get 100 attempts per problem for these review sections. But after we're into the Calc 2 proper material, then you'll have 5 attempts per problem. And this does update live. So if you go in here and you enter the answer, you get the answer right, it tells you it's right. If you get it wrong, it'll tell you that it's wrong by the 0 out of 4 here instead of a dash. And then, and the X, and you can go back and retry it. It'll automatically just save your highest score, and everything updates live. So I've got 1.9% here. If you had, this 1 point out of 53 correct, this sounds like a lot of work, but most of these are really quick. If you're comfortable with Calc 1, which you should be at this point, these should be pretty quick problems to get through. But the last thing I wanted to say is there's nothing you have to do to like submit a homework when you're done with it. Everything is live updated. So at this point, like your score in my grade book would be 1.9%. I would see that you have problem 2 correct, problem 1 incorrect, and haven't tried the others. When you're happy with your score, you don't need to do anything. You're done with that section. You can just move on. You don't need to like submit the whole assignment or like do anything to kind of wrap it up. You just work until you're happy with your score, or until you get everything right, and then you're done. You just move on to the next assignment or whatever. Okay, so I know that was a little bit of a sprint.